A few years ago, Samuel Online proposed a boycott of EA Games' Origin service, detailing exactly why you should not support EA's online store, and should instead purchase your games from DRM-free alternatives. The problem is that the video came out at the worst possible time, right when EA launched the EA Origin bundle on the Humble Bundle. Of course, a rallying cry for boycotts is going to fall on deaf ears when the company is selling a bundle of popular games for under $5. Recently, though, there's been a renewed interest in a boycott of EA games in the form of a hashtag called #BoycottBattlefront. This is a game that even before it was out, people knew it was going to be trash. It didn't have nearly as much content as the last Battlefront, a game that came out over 10 years ago and costs 1/6 of the price. This appears to be so that a large chunk of the game content can come out later in the form of paid DLC add-ons. But despite how horrible EA Games is, how they've ruined several game studios and franchises by now, there was an actual pushback against the idea of deciding not to buy Battlefront and informing other consumers about the reasons that they should avoid it as well. See, there's this notion that's been circulating that if a developer uses or supports a hashtag that advocates for a boycott, that they're magically in violation of the law and that they'll get sued. And as a result, they'd have to stop using a hashtag permanently if it's ever used for boycotts. And there's a lot of friendly developers on Twitter, and no one wants them to fall into legal trouble. Granted, this is ignoring the fact that a popular hashtag used to coordinate boycotts against major media outlets had some very active participants who were in direct competition with the sites being boycotted, some of whom were quite vocal in calling for boycotts of their own competition. Not to mention that users of the same popular Twitter hashtag staged a boycott in everything but name against Tim Schafer, Fig, and Psychonauts 2. This utilized almost all of the same tactics as Boycott Battlefront: public declarations by people that they weren't giving them money, public callouts telling others why they shouldn't give them money, complete with infographics on the topic. I mean, you can say that that's not a boycott as much as you want, but choosing a different label for the same actions doesn't change what you're really doing. It's also ignoring the fact that video game developer Brianna Wu, the founder and head of Giant Space Cat, started a boycott of her own for an Ubisoft game, Assassin's Creed Unity. Now, while the reasons for her starting this boycott were complete bullshit, that still doesn't change the fact that she faced no legal action for this campaign. And this was a big deal. It was reported on by multiple sites, something that caused a huge controversy, and something that likely caused Ubisoft to actually change an upcoming Assassin's Creed game. The changes were very obviously a reaction to the Assassin's Creed Unity boycott, and not something that was originally planned for the game. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but it doesn't look like legal action is at all likely for simply posting in or supporting a hashtag. And the people offering legal advice on this matter, well, they aren't lawyers either. This also demonstrates that boycotts work. If gamers were able to come together and show these companies that we're not going to support this shit anymore, then gaming would finally start to get better again. When one group is perfectly fine boycotting for even the most stupid reasons, and another group refuses to engage in boycotts, then the game companies will start pandering to the group that's affecting their bottom line. If you need another demonstration of boycotts making a positive change, one that's undeniably pro-consumer in nature, look at what happened to Microsoft after they announced an absurdly restrictive DRM scheme for the then upcoming Xbox One. Gamers advocating with their voice, spreading bad publicity through word of mouth, inciting others to vote with their wallets, also known as boycotting, caused an awful lot of backpedaling from Microsoft and several consumer-friendly changes to their DRM scheme as a result. Even devs who are making games for an otherwise niche fanbase are starting to concern themselves with broadening their audience as wide as possible. If we're silent about this, it will lead to games being watered down for the lowest common denominator. We need to help developers choose between the group that finds everything problematic and the group that just wants to play good video games without their wallet getting raped. Beyond that, plenty of developers have already come out to protest against corrupt gaming media, and yet nothing has changed. Mark Kern, the guy who made Diablo, StarCraft, and World of fucking Warcraft, demonstrated his support for a hashtag condemning the gaming press. Yet, none of these sites have stopped their shitty behavior, and most of the fans of the games that he worked on haven't stopped visiting these sites. Hell, when Bethesda outright blacklisted Kotaku, they still kept writing article after article about Fallout 4, and they still got loads of clicks from Bethesda fans. And even then I have my doubts that a boycott would drive developers away from a hashtag. Do you remember back in November of 2014 when Internet Aristocrat made a video about the Middle-earth Shadows of Mordor paid branding deal for YouTube creators?
Middle-earth Shadows of Mordor is the worst video game made in the history of video games. I in no way want to maximize its awareness during this Week of Vengeance, which is a shitty PR marketing attempt to get you to buy this very glitchy, very glitchy video game that is terrible. It is a horrible video game. I have no positive sentiments to promote about this terrible video game.
And this wasn't some random troll from the A team. This was the Internet Aristocrat, the guy who made the videos that were some of the most widely watched exposés about why consumers shouldn't trust the gaming press. Yet Christian Allen, the creative director for Middle-earth Shadows of Mordor, was still perfectly fine talking with Niche Gamer about the press scandals, and talking with gamers who were using a hashtag in protest. This is even though IA shat all over his game. He was still willing to talk with us. This is because developers like Christian Allen and Adrian Gemirlage and Ethan James Petty, they care about gamers. They care about the people who give them money in exchange for the games they made, so that they can continue to put food on their tables and roofs over their heads. And this is a mindset which is much more preferable to them supporting some stupid Twitter hashtag. The good developers, the ones who care about making quality games, know that they do not have to fear boycotts as long as they never rape their audience in the ear. To me, it's best to boycott business decisions that result in anti-consumer practices. You know, the day one DLCs, the crazy DRM schemes that rape your hard drive, or the crappy pre-order bonuses, the things that are clearly not artistic decisions. Just think about it. If you stop buying shit games and start encouraging others to do likewise, then everyone will have more money to spend on games that are actually worth a damn. Who knows? Maybe video games that are actually good will be the ones that make the most money for a change. And while some may argue that boycotts are not an issue that's appropriate for hashtag activism surrounding the gaming press, I would argue otherwise. Since it's been shown that the gaming press is corrupt, that the reviews are either paid for or written by hacks with shitty taste, we, the gamers, we must be the ones to inform others about what video games are worth paying for and which ones aren't. But let's put that aside for a moment. Let's say that somehow, hashtag activism against the gaming press stops being associated with online harassment, and people start thinking of it in a more positive light. And then, EA Games realizes that most SJWs don't really buy too many video games, and they decide to start pandering to V instead. So they announce that Vivian James will be a romanceable character in the next Dragon Age game. I mean, granted, you have to buy her extra as a $20 DLC that's available day one and is on the fucking disc already, and her story is written just as horribly as all BioWare romances are these days. And the game is still just as awful as all BioWare games have been since EA bought the company. But hey, you can always get Gildamar's Hat DLC when you pre-order at GameStop. We, as gamers, we need to decide which path we want the industry to take. Do we want quality games made for actual gamers? Or do we want the same old shit that we've already been getting, except now they're pandering to us instead of SJWs? I certainly know what path I want to travel. And I know that I'm not alone in this either. Refusing to buy shitty video games from companies that behave like assholes. This is not some radical new idea. Gamers have been advocating for boycotts for years now. Just look at Alpha Omega Sin, for example.
But social media has become so important. We've had the ability to tell companies directly, all the time, what we think and why we think it. I've always said 1,000 times over, and I'll continue to say 1,000 times over, to voice your opinions and to vote with your wallet. Because those two things, no matter what is said, at the end of the day, that is the most important thing that you can do. Let them know what you think and why you think that, and tell them that your money will be kept with you or spent elsewhere. Let them understand why they didn't make that particular sale. That transaction didn't go through because of X, Y, and Z. Those reasons right there. If you would have just listened to people over the past X amount of months, then we wouldn't have come to this crossroads right here. Now I've lost faith in you as a company, and I'm no longer all that interested in anything else that you're going to end up making. You've lost a long-time standing fan, and I'm going elsewhere. Fuck off, I'm done. And that's it. And they can view it as just one person. But if everybody is deciding that they're going to go and say that, one person becomes 2 people, becomes 4 people, becomes 8 people, becomes 16, becomes 32, becomes 64, becomes 128, and continues to grow into thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and even millions. And that's something that they're going to have to weigh out their options now. Do we want to continue being a big fuck up of a company, or do we want to go and fix all these errors? That's something that they have to realize. I mean, when you can talk directly to publishers and developers via Reddit, and via Twitter, and via Facebook, you should take that opportunity and do such. That is a big time deal, and it's your opinion. We're voicing opinions every day. Why the fuck not?
And here's Gaijin Goomba.
If we're going to have our voices heard, we need to blue ball the developers, the publishers, the producers, whatever. We need to blue ball this industry by not giving them our money. So they'll start to freaking listen to us, because they haven't been. And especially after everything that's happened with the new generation of consoles, I don't know if they're going to. Is it worth more getting boned financially over and over and over again and getting your franchise? Or is it better to hold on to your money, make a stand and make a point, and just quit buying it? And then maybe they'll start to listen. We spend money, thousands of dollars collectively on stupid like freaking weapon skins or personal skins or abilities that don't even really matter in the game. And then we buy it and it turns out to be crap. You know? Or there's on disc DLC that everyone is freaking out over, or something. Something pisses us off. And so right after that, we as a collective start about it. Stop. Just straight up stop. If you know that a game is going to be do not buy it. Alright? And while we're on the topic, quit pre-ordering. And that's for everyone. Just quit pre-ordering. You guys want to send a message. You guys want to make a difference. Stop buying this crap. I don't know what else to say. It drives me nuts. We no longer have any right to complain anymore, guys. The hit the fan. And it's going to be up to us and our money to send the message about what is acceptable and what isn't. Now, I have a very important question for you. And this is for everyone. People who play games, people who review games, everything in between. Do you have the balls? Do you have the balls to stop doing this?
And here's Jeremy Johns on Star Wars Battlefront.
So enter Star Wars Battlefront. Star Wars Battlefront is a full-price $60 game that has $50 DLC. It has a $50 season pass that effectively makes it a $110 game. And EA had the balls to boast. They're like, yeah, but there's no microtransactions. I mean, that's cool, right? No, it doesn't matter, because one $50 transaction or 10 $5 transactions. What's better? The fact is, none are better. It's all $50 of crap you have to buy after buying the game to get the experience the game was crafted for. So it really is just robbery that everyone kind of accepts. And the gaming industry just responds to your wallets. They don't care if you hate what they're doing. They care that you bought the game. So everyone who's bitching about like fucking $50 DLC, you still bought Star Wars Battlefront, so EA is smiling and they love you for it. It really reminds me of Straight Outta Compton. There's this scene where these people are protesting NWA and they have all their CDs and they're smashing them on the ground and stepping on them. I think it was Dr. Dre was looking at it and he was like, fuck them, they already bought the CDs. It was such a great scene because that is the point. If you already bought it, you can scream as loud as you want that you hate it, but you already bought it. When the Blu-ray releases of the original Star Wars trilogy came out, it was like the first Blu-ray release, and Lucas, of course, changed shit again. Darth Vader yelled, no, when he picked up the Emperor and threw him off the thing. I saw this thing on TV, and it was this group of guys that reviewed movies is what they did. And they were bitching about it. They were like, oh, this is bullshit. I can't believe he did that. I can't believe he changed it again. And one of the other ones was like, are you going to buy the Blu-rays? Like, well, yes, but fuck you, George Lucas. Fuck you for making me do this. And I remember seeing it and I was like, you're buying it. You have told him that it's okay. You've told them that it's okay because you're going to buy it anyway. And that's just what companies respond to, is you speaking with your wallet. So on this principle, I just got to speak with my wallet on Star Wars Battlefront. I'm a Star Wars fan wearing a fucking Star Wars shirt. Star Wars Battlefront should have been the thing that was like, what, Fallout? Who? Star Wars, man. That's what I'm here for. But I can't.
And here is Samuel Online's video.
In the world where money talks, silence is horrifying. Remember the moral of our Xbox One story? Not just the loss of money can make a money-orientated company turn face. Simply the prospect of losing money can. Stop. Stop going back to EA and be the change you want to see in the rest of us. People that cry that boycotts don't work have never seen a boycott. Boycotts work because that's what hits any kind of business where it hurts. And to be honest, I don't even care about hurting EA. I don't like what they do, but they're free to do it. Just like I'm free not to buy any of their stuff. My main gripe with this whole EA issue is that people, the community, know and complain so much about how much they dislike this, that and the other that EA has done. But in a week, or month, or year's time, they are climbing over each other to buy the next title. The best way to stop being a bitch is to stop acting like one. Show us some spine. And, as you've already gathered by now, this doesn't only apply to EA. It applies to every single group of people on this planet. You can make a difference. We can make a difference. We know we can because we've done it before. Every time you give an abusive, corrosive entity your support in any way, you are taking a backhanded bitch slap to the face in thanks. Give them a reason to behave.
Even Total Biscuit, the guy who first got these gaming press scandals some mainstream attention with his original Twitlonger, he's in favor of boycotts.
It is a nasty cycle. Stop being involved in it, please. Think very, very hard before you pre-order a game. Think, well, would I have bought this anyway? Am I such a huge fan of the series that even if 20 reviews from people that I trusted came out and said, this is dreadful, even if my friends who I trust came and said to me, this is dreadful, even under those circumstances, I still would have bought the game and I still would have played it anyway. If you are in that situation, all right, pre-order, fine. If you have even the slightest doubt, for the love of God, wait. Please wait. You are doing more damage to yourself and to the industry than you can possibly realize. We as consumers have the ability to stop this bullshit for good. And we're the only ones who can do that. Publishers aren't going to do it. Devs aren't going to do it. It's up to you. Will you be part of that solution? Will you help fix this? Or will you continue to be part of the problem? I guess that's up to you. My name is Total Biscuit, and I'll see you next time.
And this isn't the first time Total Biscuit has advocated for boycotts.
It's absurd. A character that is so important to the lore, you can't gain access to unless you have Collector's Edition or pay $10 on launch. Wow. That is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. A line has to be drawn in the sand by consumers as to what they are willing to take and what they are not willing to take. And this is going to be a really hard thing for all of us. I love Mass Effect. My God, do I like that game. I so do, and I've been looking forward to Mass Effect 3 for a while. One of the few games these days that I look forward to, because I know it's going to be a game that I'm actually going to set aside time to play, and I very rarely get to do that, because I want to see how this trilogy ends, and I have really enjoyed the previous two games. I mean, me then going out and saying, this is boycott worthy, which I might add that it is, that is one of the hardest things I could possibly say, because I have to basically boycott this game now. If I want to stick to my guns and actually be respectable and have credibility, I have got to boycott Mass Effect 3. Oh, God damn it, BioWare. What the hell? This was the same thing I was forcing myself to do with Battlefield 3 until they rescinded the idea of retailer exclusive items that you couldn't get anywhere else. Thankfully, the boycott for that actually worked. There was enough uproar on the internet for DICE and EA to turn around and say, okay, fine, it's just a timed exclusive, you can get access to it other ways just through the game. Great. That's okay. Timed exclusives are, once again, borderline of acceptability, as long as you're not denying content entirely from your playbase. And let's be honest, those were add-ons for guns. This is an entirely new character that has great story and lore significance. This is ridiculous.